What up, people? It's your boy Massachusetts out here with another Final Space review. And man, this episode, The Chamber of Doubt, um, I gotta say, it really hit. It really hit. This was the type of episode where it's been speculated something bad's gonna happen, but you're just on edge to know how bad it's gonna happen. And man, it was bad. It was bad. Um, But let's do a quick summary. They're going to be spoilers, as you know. So we pick off where we left off. Ash has returned. Well, first of all, we can pick up with the aftermath, actually, of the whole surgery that Quinn had to save him from a final space poisoning. And, she's starting to have an existential crisis that am I becoming Nightfall? And if Nightfall if I'm becoming Nightfall, am I really me? But, Gary's like saying, hey, you can be whoever you are, and you know what? We're cool on the whole thing, keeping your illness a secret. So Lil Cato's the one that tells Gary and Co that hey, Ash is back, and and so they get to Russian, and Gary being Gary's all happy that a crew member is back, but Avocado's like, I got my guns on my sides because he tells Gary like, hey, she flew into a black hole with Invictus and she's back. That seems very, very odd. I am very on edge. And so the both of them meet her basically, and they see that, hey, I'm back, whatnot. And so she basically says, hey, you can trust me. You can trust me, even though she's displaying some new aggression, obviously because she wants Fox back. But then, of course, before they can get Fox back, they see that the Guardian, this blue flamed Guardian that we saw in season one, is basically saying, hey, Bolo has gone crazy. We need you. And so, much to Ash's disappointment, visible disappointment, um, they decide to go after and save Bolo. But Lil Kato assures her that we're all getting out of final space together, which puts her mind at ease. So they head into Bolo's mind, and you know, we see that Ash has been separated from the transfer and she goes her own way and everything like that. And so we get some interesting backgrounds that Bolo's basically the light spark of Bolo, because when they enter into Bolo's mind, they see all of these dark Bolos. And the only way to get Bolo back to his sanity is to find the spark of reason. And so as they're going about, we see the spark of Bolo, his reason, pick up Ash and say, hey, I need your help. And, we're going to have to do it together. We're going to have to. I'm going to need your help. And he's like, and she asks, how did this happen? And he's like saying, I got it from a parting gift of my friend Erascus, and he's like saying that I used to have such a calm mind when I was encased in my prison. I knew what I was, but with freedom, comes change, and everything's out of balance, and I need you to tip the balance. And I know someone who can help you. So we can see Fox is there. And what's very interesting is that we get backstory into Fox, how he came to be. And we see that well, first of all, he was born into war, and we see an issue, a backstory much like Avocado's backstory. And so before, unlike Avocado, he wasn't a warrior. He wanted to be a musician, but the Trifulians were like, nah, you're gonna fight as a soldier. And so, in the worst way possible, they cut off his arm and replace it with a gun with a gun arm, basically. And so we now know how he got his arm. And the reason why he tells this story is because Ash is like, if you're really Fox, and you're going to tell me the story that you told me not to tell anybody, which was the story of how he came to be. And we see that even though he was not a born warrior, he became very good as a soldier, just killing. And so we see the Ventrexians come in, and they've had their war as well, like that. And he basically says that, hey, we can finally we can finally stick it to our oppressors, and we can do, and she basically says, "So you know where my powers come from? Yeah, they're from Invictus, and I want you to join us. I want you to join us so that we can stick it to our oppressors." And he's putting Ash's mind at ease, but then we of course see that this was all an elaborate trap by Invictus because Fox is still very much possessed by Invictus. And what's interesting with the rest of the team squad, I'll refer them to that, is that as they're passing through these bolos, it's called they're seeing all these doubtful bolos. So, we see funny ones like, oh, talking about Jill, but, they're just trying to find the real spark of reason. But what's interesting is that when they find one, they say that, oh, Gary's not a hero. His father was. And then we see that, oh, Gary's going to be the death of everything. He's going to burn everything. And we just see some interesting things, but they managed to find the spark, and that's the real spark. And he tells them that, hey, um, I'm going to need you to go in and cleanse and help put in the spark, basically. And he's like saying, Ashes with Invictus, and so we got to hurry. And so they get to basically that spark in that mind, and you know, we see that Fox is with Ash. We know the glow of Invictus around them. So Gary decides to go in and save Fox. Now, here's where things get tragic. Now, Gary lands, and you would think that, oh, Gary draws out his gun and be thinking, like, oh no, Gary's going to have to make the choice to shoot to shoot either Fox to save Ash or whatnot. But we see that he throws his gun away, and and then it gets really tragic where we see that things are going as planned for Invictus. So Fox pushes Ash away just as Gary tackles him to get him off. And then Fox is wrestling with him. He overpowers Gary. Boom. Does everything. He's down. But here's where it gets sadistic on Invictus's part. Through Fox, he says that you're going to lose. And you already lost her. You already lost when you lost Ash, basically, when she basically ran away from you after me. So you'll never win her back. And so through Fox, he malfunctions Gary's robotic arm into the blade and controlling it. And Gary can't stop it. And Ash is looking at this. And damn, Gary goes ahead and just punctures and just stabs Fox right through the chest, man. It was terrible. Terrible stuff. And his last words were just so sad. He was so confused too. He was like saying, I just wanted us to be a family. And dies in her arms, and Ash just freaks out, saying that you killed my brother. And he was like, Gary's like, I didn't do this. I didn't do anything. And then Bola's like, and then it's like it's over. And she's like saying, how? And he just Invictus got what he wanted, which was of course Ash having doubt, sowing discord in the team. And so, but through that and through all of that, Bola manages to gain his sanity back, and everybody's down. Gary just goes ballistic. Hugh tries to cheer him up with a cookie, but you know, Gary just destroys the whole machine entirely. You see Quinn just meditating on what happened, basically thinking that man, deep stuff has happened. And then finally, what's interesting is that I thought that Ash would leave, but she's on the ship. She remained on the ship, and so Bo's like saying your pain is real, but it's like, but you have to understand your brother was already dead. And Ash doesn't take that well. And she's like saying, well, he's like, well, Gary got possessed by Invictus. Avocado got possessed by Invictus. You were possessed by Invictus, and you're all alive. And he's like saying, no, this was different, and she refuses to listen to it. So she demands her brother's body, and Bolo decides to say, "You'll have the body." And then she just, embraces her. She goes out in space and embraces her brother's body, and that's the end of that episode. So, man, all around sad episode, man. It was cold. It was very cold. It was cold. Um, Gary was, real change in his character. Like you just see how he started off all happy and whatnot, and got hit with the reality that Invictus forced him to kill one of his friends. That's terrible. It's messed up. It's also interesting to see Quinn kind of deal with an existential um, crisis of, am I Nightfall? Am I losing my own identity to another person? But and even though Gary reassures her, and even though she also tells Ash, like, no, I'm not Nightfall, and Nightfall's dead, we see that she begins to question that. Avocado, you know, always the one who has sense, and he always felt that danger. And, he was always warning against, like, Gary, something's off, something's wrong. It's crazy. And it's always good to have that foil to Gary's um, sometimes blind optimism of, Avocado's, cold realism. Very nice indeed. Um, I'm glad that Fox got a very interesting background. Um, you'd have to wonder that, yes, all Trifulians and Ventrexians fight, but for the fact that Fox and probably other Trifulians and how they're conscripted into their army, where they have to like cut off their own arms to obtain weapons, is crazy. It's brutal. Very brutal. And while there were only inklings of humor sprinkled in. But let's get to Ash as well. We see that Ash also went into another form that was much like her. Well, her eyes went back to the way they were when she used to have that power. And while she says Gary and them can trust her, it's clear that her time with Invictus has made her a lot more aggressive. It's made her maybe unpredictable. And that really the only person that can most likely talk to her sensibly is Lil Kato, because that's where she feels, her ease. And with Fox gone, it's interesting to see where that goes. But it was also interesting to see whether this was the final straw and will that push her to be an acolyte of Invictus and join Lord Commander. As I said before, humor was very small. We got small bits of Kevin. We had no we had no we didn't have the Tiger fellow at all, of course. This was all business, and yeah, definitely hyped up. So I give this episode a 9 out of 10. Keep watching Final Space, y'all. It's crazy. So thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. Once again, I do these videos for you, the people, because I love to discuss Final Space. I want to get your views on them. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll have more videos up when I can. Peace.